Hello, and welcome all to Movie Hunter, the show that tracks down the quality of all sorts of movies. My name is Hunter, and today in the 62nd episode, our target is Brother Bear, produced by Walt Disney Feature Animation and distributed by Buena Vista Pictures Distribution. Following the success of 1994's The Lion King, the then CEO and Disney chairman, Michael Eisner, wanted to make more feature films centered around animals. The original idea would focus on a bear who is the king of the forest, and would be inspired by the tragedy of King Lear by William Shakespeare. In 1997, a longtime animator for Disney, Aaron Blaise, joined the project as a director because he, quote, wanted to be attached so that he could animate bears, and he was soon joined by Robert Walker as another director. Aaron Blaise desired a more naturalistic story, so he and producer Chuck Williams produced a two-page treatment that was approved by the then president of Walt Disney Feature Animation, Thomas Schromer, who said, "This is the idea of the century." Tab Murphy came on board to write an early draft of the script, having previously co-written the screenplays for the Disney films The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Tarzan, and Atlantis the Lost Empire. After the project was greenlit, the directors Aaron Blaise and Robert Walker, as well as the story artists, took a research trip in the August of 1999 to visit Alaska. The following year, the production team took additional trips to Yellowstone National Park, Grand Teton National Park, and the Sequoia National Park. By the year 2000, the story had followed the protagonist being taken in by an older bear named Grizz, who would be voiced by Michael Clark Duncan. However, this character was instead made a cub named Coda. However, because they liked Duncan's performance, they repurposed his character to still be in the film. Jeremy Suarez was chosen to voice the cub after the filmmakers liked his audition tapes for Finding Nemo. Brother Bear was originally going to release in spring 2004, while the Disney film Home on the Range would release the year prior. However, Disney announced that the two would switch, with Brother Bear releasing in 2003 and Home on the Range releasing in 2004. On July 15, 2003, Disney announced that the release date would be moved up one weekend from November 7, 2003 to November 1, 2003, opting to release on a Saturday instead of on Halloween. The film did in fact release on November 1st, 2003, and made $250.4 million on a budget of $46 million. It became Walt Disney Animation Studios' 44th film after 2002's Treasure Planet and before 2004's Home on the Range. The directors were Aaron Blaise and Robert Walker, and the producer was Chuck Williams. The screenplay was by Tab Murphy, Lorne Cameron, David Hoselton, Steve Bensinch, and Ron J. Friedman. The story was by Nathan Greeno, Stevie Wormer-Skelton, Kevin Durters, Woody Woodman, Thom Enriquez, Kevin Harkey, Bruce Johnson, John Norton, and John Puglisi. It was edited by Tim Mearns, and the music was by Phil Collins and Mark Mancina. The cast includes Joaquin Phoenix, Jeremy Suarez, Rick Moranis, Dave Thomas, Jason Reyes, D.B. Sweeney, Joan Copeland, and Michael Clark Duncan. Disney Television Animation was set to produce a series called Brother Bear the Animated Series, and the pilot tested well, but the show was not picked up. A direct-to-DVD sequel called Brother Bear 2 released on August 29, 2006. The film follows three brothers returning from a fishing trip so that the youngest brother, Kenai, can receive his totem, a necklace in the shape of an animal that's supposed to guide them in what to do to become a man. Kenai is disappointed when his totem is revealed to be the Bear of Love, which he fails to see the connection to being a man. This is followed by the basket of fish that Kenai failed to properly hang up getting stolen by a bear, and Kenai going to track it down, with his brothers following close behind. Kenai finds the bear in the broken and empty basket, which leads to him provoking the bear and creating a fight. His brothers come to his aid, but it ends with when Sitka, the oldest, sacrifices himself by dislodging a portion of the glacier and making the bear and himself fall from very high up into the ocean. The bear makes it out alive and retreats, with Sitka dying. At the funeral, Kenai rejects his totem and hunts down the bear, with his brother Denahi close behind. Kenai finds the bear and kills it, and the spirits transform him into a bear as punishment. Denahi arrives and believes that Kenai is the bear that has now killed both of his brothers, and vows to kill it. Kenai wakes up to discover the shaman, Tanana, caring for him, and tells him that Sidka's spirits did this. And Kenai must find where the light meets the earth to communicate with Sitka and discover what he must do to atone for his actions. Immediately springing a trap, Kenai is rescued by a cub named Koda, who got separated from his mom and is headed to the Salmon Run. When Koda says that some nearby mountains are always touched by the light, Kenai makes a deal to travel with him to the Salmon Run so that he can talk with Sitka. The two are also joined by two moose brothers, all the while being hunted down by Denahi. They eventually reach the Salmon Run, where there are numerous other bears. As the bears take turns telling stories, Koda tells the tale of how he got separated from his mother, making Kenai realize that the bear he killed was Koda's mother. He soon after confesses this truth to Koda, who runs away. Just then Denahi returns and begins fighting Kenai, only for Koda to come to his aid. Kenai then nearly sacrifices himself to protect Koda from Denahi, leading to Sitka returning him to a human. Kenai, however, realizes that Koda needs him, so requests to stay a bear, to which Sitka obliges. The film ends with Kenai and Koda living with the bears, and Kenai being declared a man for learning to love. Firstly, let's talk about the really good opening to the film. My overall thoughts on this movie are really summarized by the fact that I think the first 25 minutes are really good, but the second and third acts really aren't as great. So let's start by talking about what makes that first act work so well. Firstly, the setup is really intriguing, immediately setting up something that looks like it's going to be very unique in the Disney catalog. One thing that remains consistent throughout the entire movie is the animation, which looks great, primarily with the colors, which look really nice. But other than that, I love the idea of this tribe's ideas about totems, which are supposed to reveal exactly what one needs to be considered a man. For the oldest brother, Sitka, this is the eagle of guidance, which is reflected in the fact that he's the closest to, or even arguably at, this goal, with him providing guidance to both of his younger brothers. For the middle brother, Denahi, this is the wolf of wisdom, which he lacks in the very beginning, being very unserious most of the time, but we see him get closer to it after Sitka's death. For the youngest brother and the protagonist of the film, Kenai, this is the bear of love, with him being very prone to anger. Predictably, this leads to Kenai becoming very angry, and even more so when his basket of fish that he failed to properly tie up gets stolen from a bear. In his rage, he hunts down the bear, and when he finds that it has eaten the fish and destroyed their basket, he stupidly provokes it into a fight, ultimately leading to Sitka's death. And to add insult to injury, the bear survived. At this point, Kenai fully rejects his totem, deciding to hunt down the bear once more, unpersuaded by Denahi's inexperienced words of wisdom. Kenai tracks down the bear, and in an upwards battle, fights and kills the bear, only to be turned into a bear himself by the spirit of his brother Sitka, to guide him towards completing his totem. Meanwhile, Denahi believes that this bear has now killed both of his brothers, and similarly loses sight of his totem, going on a similar track of vengeance to kill this bear, who unbeknownst to him is his brother. This is such an interesting setup, and to the film's credit, it doesn't completely abandon it after this point, but the tone takes a serious shift from here on out, where it no longer feels like setup, but getting into the main point of the film. What's deeply unfortunate here is that it doesn't feel like the film knew what to do from here. The entire second act is just Kenai and Koda making their way to the Salmon Run. Partially, this act is less good because we don't get to know much about Koda. His only motivation is getting to the Salmon Run, when reuniting with his mother, who he last saw in a fight, should really be a deeper and more pronounced concern for him. However, I suspect that they didn't really want to put too much of an emphasis on it, because it could very well give up the twist that the bear Kenai killed was actually Koda's mother. This is somewhat understandable because I feel like the twist isn't super well hidden. One could pretty easily connect the dots between Kenai killed a bear and Koda hasn't seen his mother. I can't really speak to it myself because I knew the twist beforehand, but I still think that the twist works, at least on the basis that it switches up the character dynamics in an interesting way. What's more, I do think the twist was a pretty bold and brave swing from Disney. That is not a light-hearted twist in the slightest, revealing that the main character killed the mother of another main character. Still, though, I feel like the execution was less enticing than the idea, with Koda reuniting with Kenai far too quickly after this revelation, and treating him essentially the exact same way. This brings us to the ending where Kenai sacrifices himself in a battle against Denahi to protect Koda, and I actually liked the way this was done, being shot in a way that's identical to when Kenai killed the bear in the beginning. This of course leads to Kenai's lesson being complete and being turned back into a human, only to request being a bear again so that he can protect Koda. This is kind of a strange ending, where I don't really know what Kenai staying a bear was supposed to accomplish, but also is a little bit, and is also a little bit unintentionally terrifying, but I see where they were trying to do with it, and it works well enough, I suppose. Overall, these second and third acts just don't do justice to the greatly set up first act. It really feels like all the creativity went into this beginning, but then got stuck with where to go next. Next, I wanted to quickly talk about the missed opportunities with this film, and how I think it could have overall been improved upon. Firstly, the middle brother Denahi could have been super interesting. Again, the first act does most of the heavy lifting, creating a really enticing quest for vengeance that could have resulted in a really unique and great antagonistic force, whose backstory would have been subtly set up in the exact same scenes as the protagonist was being set up. Instead, Denahi serves as an occasional obstacle for Kenai and Koda, with very little of substance being offered beyond that. This is such a huge missed opportunity, where Denahi could have so easily been an intimidating and threatening presence throughout the entire film, creating even more stakes, and also being yet another constant reminder of what Kenai caused through his recklessness, making Denahi act so uncharacteristically. This is easily the biggest missed opportunity with the film, but the second is with the two Canadian moose characters. These characters are actually pretty decent in the film, being a serviceable enough source of comedy throughout the film, but where it really could have been improved upon is with the third act. When Koda runs away from Kenai, he encounters the two Moose brothers arguing, ultimately making up in the end though, encouraging Koda to do the same with Kenai. This is kind of lame as is, because the Moose's conflict was nowhere near as serious as Koda's and Kenai's, but I still like the idea behind it. I feel like by better fleshing out the Moose's characters and setting up this argument more, it could have actually created a nice comparison for the duos. Overall, these two things wouldn't completely fix the film, but it would have certainly improved upon it, giving the rest of the film more connection to that beginning. Finally, let's talk about the music in the film. There are 4 songs throughout with a varying level of quality. Going from worst to best, we have in 4th place No Way Out, which plays during the scene where Kenai tells Koda that his mother is dead. The biggest blunder with this song is simply where it is placed in the film. The song itself isn't anything all too special, and the lyrics are kinda bland, but the fact that it plays over the most emotional moment between the main duo making it so that we cannot hear them is so lame and drags it down to the bottom. In 3rd place, Welcome, which plays when Kenai and Koda first make it to the salmon run. The song is pretty childish and generic, but it's got a good enough tune to not be outright bad. I think it goes on for a bit too long, though. In 2nd place, On My Way, which is actually a half-decent song, with the main thing holding it back being that Koda starts and finishes the song, but the entire middle portion of the song is sung by none of the characters. I'm not against having a non-character singing a song, but to have it start and end with a character, but not have the rest of it sung by that character, was just a strange choice. In 1st place, Great Spirits, which is the only song here that I'd actually call great and something that I would actually go back to listen to. Ironically enough, the idea that the first act is the best remains true even with the music, as this list actually ranks the songs in reverse order of that in which they appear, as it would so happen. Overall, the songs really aren't that great. It would have been serviceable enough, though, if there weren't just so many strange and outright bad decisions made with them. For my money, just listen to Great Spirits, and maybe On My Way. I give Brother Bear a 6 out of 10, and rather disappointingly so. I probably sound like a broken record by this point, but that first act just set such high expectations, making me think that this film was going to be an 8 out of 10 at the least. Unfortunately, it just didn't really seem like they knew what they wanted to do with the story from there. It still has a few redeeming qualities, enough so that I wouldn't discourage anyone from watching it, but it's really hard to not see where it could have been so much more. Well, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to share any opinions you had on the movie. A new episode releases each week, so stay tuned to see which film I cover next. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.